Hey everyone, it's Trevor with eTrailer. Today we're doing an overview and an installation of the Roadmaster Diode Wiring Kit on our 2017 Chevrolet Equinox. One of the questions I get asked a lot is, what do I need to actually flat tow? Well, you're going to need a base plate, you'll also need a tow bar, the tow bar wiring, your safety cables, and a braking system. And that'll be the main 5 components you'll need to start your system. Now, what your diode wiring kit is going to do for you is it's going to help keep you safe and legal out on the road and make sure that everyone knows the intentions of what you're going to be doing whenever you're driving your motorhome. Another thing it's going to do is it's going to prevent any feedback from the motorhome, preventing false signals, and it's also going to protect your vehicle's wiring. Now, when it comes to your diode wiring kit, we have plenty of options for you. And for example, if you have a tow bar that doesn't have a channel, you can use this kit here that's going to have a coiled cable, which is to prevent it from dragging along the ground while you're flat towing. Now, for the install of the diodes, it really wasn't too bad. It's just a little time consuming, so you'll have to route the wiring back. You will have to double check what your turn signal is and what your running light signal is, and then splice into those. But if you feel comfortable doing that, I'm sure you could get this done over the weekend. But if this is something that makes you a little nervous, you can always use our dealer locator to find a shop near you that'd be able to get this in and back out on the road for you. But if I've convinced you to go ahead and give this a try, we can go ahead and jump into that installation. To begin our installation, we're going to take the 4-pole wiring in the kit, and we're going to route that from the front of our base plate to the taillights of the vehicle. And we're going to leave a little extra slack over in the front, so whenever we go to hook up our 6-pole, it makes it a little bit easier on us. So what we did was we routed the wire from the front of the base plate. I zip tied it to this bumper support so we had an idea of where we wanted the plug mocked up. And then I followed up to this wire loom here, zip tied it, and then we routed it back. But you can also, if you're doing a braking system, route it next to this washer reservoir up through here, and then go down back behind this battery box. Now, when we routed it back, we ran over the top of all of our suspension components, and then we followed this brake line back, throwing a zip tie around the plastic bit just to make sure we hold this tight. Follow it all the way back here around this heat shielding, and then we went over the top of the suspension back here and kept zip tying it to the loom above our suspension to keep it up and out of the way. And then from there, we just follow it over this arm and over the exhaust. And you will want to keep and make sure you keep it away from anything hot or moving while you're doing this. Before we can get our wires pulled up, we're going to have to remove our taillights. And to do this, all you need to do is take a flathead screwdriver and put it underneath this plastic circle and just pull up on the bottom of it. And this should pop just right out. Set those off to the side. Then we'll take a 10mm socket, or if you have one, you can take a Phillips head to take these bolts out. Now once you have those bolts out, all you have to do is find a good place to grab it and just kind of wiggle it back and forth while pulling out towards yourself, and it will slide out. And what you'll have to do from there is go ahead and take this plug off. And to do that, there's 2 pins on the sides. And what you'll do is pinch those in and then wiggle back and forth, and this will eventually pop off. We'll have one more connection actually here. Same scenario, press on that, pull out. And now we can set it off to the side. And now with everything disconnected, we'll go ahead and take a pull wire. Today we're using a piece of 1/4-inch airline tubing and just drop it down through this opening. And now we took our wire, taped it to the pull wire, and then we'll pull that up and out. And we'll pull out some of the slack for now, just to give us some extra working room to get these wires connected up. Now we're going to go ahead and get our wires pulled apart, and to do so, you can take a pair of wire clippers and just kind of cut in between there, making sure you don't hit the wire sheathing, and then you can just pull back from there, or you can take a safety razor and slightly push along there until you get to pull apart. Once we do, we'll go ahead and get the green and white wires pulled out And then we'll tuck those back down in, because all we really need for this is the yellow and the brown wire. Now we went ahead and tested our wires, and we found out the brown wire is going to be our running lights, and the yellow and black is going to be our brake light signal. So we'll go brown to brown, and then yellow and black to yellow. And we'll try and pull up some of the slack to find out a good spot to cut our wire here. And then we'll go back a little bit on this, give it a cut, and then we'll get these stripped back and attach our diodes. Now that we've gone ahead and stripped back the wiring the same way, what we'll do is connect our spade terminals. To that, we'll just give this a good twist, slide our spade terminal in place, and then take our crimping tool and crush that down pretty good. Give it a tug to make sure it doesn't come out. And then now we'll repeat that process for the rest of our wires. Now that we have all the spade terminals on, what we'll do is connect them up. So the first one that goes on is our out to the plug. And then we'll connect the other two to the inside. And this inside, it doesn't matter in which orientation they're connected to, as long as they're connected to the correct side. So we hook these up the same. Only difference is with the one diode with the yellow connector, we put a jumper wire in there with it to run to the other side of the vehicle. So I routed the brown and the green wire down and around this lip here, over the top of the hitch we have, and then to the other side and up into the taillight. And we went ahead and we pulled the wire up the same as we did on the other side, made all of our connections. The only difference was the color of our turn signal wire, which was a dark green and white color. So we went ahead and we crimped on a ring terminal to our ground wire, and I'm just going to put it right up to the frame here. And how we're going to do that is just use a self-tapping bolt. I'm going to start by drilling out the hole and then going back and attaching the ring terminal afterwards. Then we'll come back and clean all that up later. Now we're back at the front of the vehicle, and we're going to be installing the 6-pole plug. And to do that, we're going to be loosening up these set screws. And on the plug itself, it'll label it as right turn, left turn, and the tail markers, which is going to be all the connections we need to make inside of the ground. And we're just going to do the same thing we did on the back, where we're going to split these wires off individually and then strip them back. And then once we get that done, we'll go ahead and show you how to make the connection. Now down here with our 6-pole, you can see we got some set screws here. I already have them loosened up, but you will want to make sure you don't go back too far, because you can lose them as they are pretty small and they're really hard to get back in place. Now these are going to be labeled accordingly. We'll have TM for your tail markers or the running lights. We'll have GD for our ground wire. We'll have right turn or RT. And then we'll have LT for left turn. And then we'll go ahead and get our ground wire in place. And to do so, all you have to do is press that in there. And then what you'll try and do is hold the wire in place and the plug. Take your screwdriver and then tighten that down. And you want to make sure you don't go too tight, or else you can actually damage the wires. And now with that in place, we'll go ahead and do the rest of the wires, and then we'll come back and test it. Now this is what it's going to look like once you've got the wires in place. And keep in mind, if you do have a charge line kit, you can install the charge wire into that center post on your 6-pole. Now we're going to go ahead and get our taillights installed. But one thing I wanted to mention is, before you do so, just put a little bit of silicone around the outside of the connections to make sure they stay in place and to also seal them up from the elements. But we're just going to go ahead and get this put back in place in the reverse order we took it out in. Now that we're back up front, we're going to go ahead and test to make sure everything's working correctly. We have it hooked up to our test box that we have here in the shop. You can use your motorhome, but if there's something wrong with the wiring on the motorhome side, it might skew the results. So I would double check the signals coming off the motorhome before you test it on the vehicle. We're going to start with our running lights. And from there, we'll test our brake lights, our left turn, and then our right turn. And now that we verified everything's working, if you have any more wiring to do, I would suggest leaving the plug bare for now and then coming back later and hitting it with some silicone, which is what we're going to be doing today. But if you are not going to be doing that, you can go ahead, seal it up, and then you've completed the installation of the Roadmaster diodes. Well, I hope this video helps you in installing your Roadmaster Diode Wiring Kit on your 2017 Chevrolet Equinox. My name's Trevor, and thank you for watching.